Hello, and welcome to Brand Clarity by Visions2images, where we focus on strategy and business development for entrepreneurs at all different levels through branding and digital marketing techniques. Susie Liberatore is the founder and art director of Visions2images Creative Services, LLC. For the last decade, she has personally been instrumental in bridging gaps between the global digital market and neighborhood locations for some of the biggest brands around. Growth is possible for even a single location with the right professional branding techniques and Susie's signature strategies of Visions2images. Stand out from your competitors and bring your visions to life while watching your sales skyrocket. Your host for this is Susie Liberatore, owner of Visions2images. Hello, everybody. Today I have Thomas Riley. He's the regional director and business developer with ServPro. He's got 5 franchises that he kind of manages and works with in the Boston area. And I'm excited to chat with him. You know, we've been working together for, I don't even know now, 6 months to a year. I don't even know. I lost track. So I'm excited. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Susie. Thanks for having me. Yeah, we've been, it's maybe been a year that we've worked together. So it's been a great help. And like you said, with the 5 ServPro franchises here in Massachusetts, it keeps us busy. So we are very fortunate to have somebody like yourself to help us out with our marketing, with our Google My Business, with our blogs. So thanks for making time to have me on, and thanks for your help with our success in growing in the last year.
Yeah, you jumped right in and kind of gave that little spirit. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, we're diving more into franchise marketing as a whole. And I thought you would be the perfect kind of candidate to talk more in depth about this franchise marketing and what this even means, because there are other clients that we have as well. But what I notice a lot of times is people have that mindset of, I don't need somebody to help me because we have corporate. Kind of back it up a little bit and tell us why you hired somebody like myself to kind of help you with these franchises. It's a lot to manage, but at the same time, why did you kind of go that route?
Yeah, sure. Great question. And for myself, prior to coming to ServPro, I spent nearly 15 years in the hotel industry. So with franchises as well, Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt. And I was very fortunate to work for, some amazing ownership groups and franchises underneath that Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt umbrella. I think in doing that, a great experience in that was you see different goals and different expectations from different ownership groups, from different investors. And those great name, companies with the track record of success, similar to ServPro, have lofty expectations. You benefit, as a sales director, as business developer, that helps get your foot in the door. You're with ServPro, they get your foot in the door. You're with Marriott, that people are going to take your call, they're going to answer. I think you've got to then take it to the next step, build that relationship, help the people that are, willing to do business with you. But a huge part of that, especially in the last quarter century probably is the marketing side. You have to stay ahead of the curve. And I think like anything else in life, you have to know where your strengths and weaknesses are. Clearly, as you know, I don't mind talking. I don't mind like the sales side of the job, but I know, you have to know where you're lacking. And we get a lot of great support, great ideas from our ServPro corporate. But with that comes a lot of goals, deadlines, to make sure you're maximizing everything they can offer. So I think you and I connected on LinkedIn, Susie, started talking. I know you had worked with some other ServPros closer to home for you in Ohio. At the time, we were just, like many companies right now and many businesses were, a little bit short staffed. So we were growing. We went from 3 franchises to 5 in the time that I've been here at ServPro, but we weren't able to staff up as much. So my thought process was just, you're an expert in that field. You know what you're doing. You have, your time management, your time blocking of, when these posts needs to go and a system and a plan. So I just felt with that. And then I have here at staff, we have Avery, who helps me with our social media posts and uses Social Studio, which is a great system that ServPro has. So it's just like a blending of having yourself and having Avery, and the 3 of us have had strong communication. And that's kind of what I hope to set out to do, just to manage our time better and still be putting a good product online. Because, as you know, perception is reality. What people see, what you're posting, what you're not posting, even worse, or, is, having some consistency, and I was spoiled maybe a little in the hotel industry where it's fun and flashy to post new, hotels or new meeting room or cool space, with restoration services where, for ServPro, we're helping people, businesses, homeowners, a lot of times during one of the most difficult things in their lives. The flip side of that is, it's great. You get to help people and we all love to do that. And that's why a lot of us work here. but it makes the marketing content, you have to be a little more creative, a little bit more, have a heart and care and dot your I's, cross your T's. So I think that's helped your and my communications where, we'll have texts or emails of, hey, does this make sense? Is this nice to post? Does this look right? And I think that in and of itself is a huge value because everybody second guesses themselves sometimes, but once it's out there, so it's nice to have somebody that can say, post 3 days a week, post, this on Monday, this on, this type of content. So yeah, long-winded answer, but a lot goes into it. But I think a lot of it is planning,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I mean, and I feel like with 5 franchises, it's super hard to market to all of those because like we've talked about before, having 5 Facebook pages for franchises is exhausting if you have somebody doing it all day, every day. So we've kind of come up with that strategy to not worry as much to post every single day and to post, I think it was like 2 times a week at each page or something to that extent. And I know Serve Pro Corporate kind of has those other posts going out as well that they kind of create and curate for you guys. So, and I love that they have that accessibility to you guys that they will post and have that stuff. But beyond that, there's so much more, like you're saying, like consulting and kind of having that team, right? Like Avery knows she's very smart and she's talented and she'll take it and she'll go. But also having that expert and just talking out and figuring out the different strategies and the different campaigns and then coming up with a plan, like you said so many times. And I mean, each month when we do blog posts, it's different. It's based on, what is hot in the topic and figuring out what we can talk about, because a lot of times they want community stuff. So community can be anything. I mean, there's breast cancer awareness, there's Fire Week. It doesn't always have to be about Serve Pro, but we still bring it back to relate to it in some way, shape, or form. And I think that when you hire somebody else out, like they have that creativity and they're not so boxed in. Like if an internal person did it, they might just write about Serve Pro and just do it to get it done, because the blog post is due where there's much more creativity and personality put into that stuff so that you can use them on the different platforms is so important. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you could have some great points there, Susie, with like saying, thinking outside the box. And I think, a huge service of that too is we're in and around the industry all day and talking to clients, in this. So to have somebody like yourself who's thinking, outside of the industry is like, this is something I would be interested in. This is something I think, clients of mine in other industries are interested in. It gives us fresh ideas and it challenges us. I know we talked about breast cancer awareness, about doing a fundraiser for that in October. I did see some of the other Serve Pro franchises had put stuff about Fire Safety Week and stuff yesterday. So I think it's like accountability, I think having you saves me, so much time and effort. And I appreciate that a ton, because then it's also like challenging myself to be like, oh my goodness, we still need to work on this charitable cause for the holidays. We have our call twice a month. So every other week I'm like, okay, I know Susie and I talked about this 2 weeks ago. These 3 items have been taken care of. These 1 or 2 haven't, so you're always kind of striving to get a little bit more out there. And hopefully that's bringing people back to look at your pages or to look at your stuff. Or our industry is definitely a top of mind industry. You can have clients or contacts or networking groups you work with, but until we always say, we hope you don't have to use us, but we want, when you do need to use us, we want to do great by you and by your family, by your company. And we want you to think of us first. And I think a lot of the stuff you're doing for us helps keep us top of mind for people.
Yeah, I actually just wrote that down in my notes saying like plant the seed, right? It's about showing up. They might not need you right now, but they might need you later on, or they might know somebody who needs you. So that's why it's so important to keep building that online presence in the presence locally, like you said, like networking and all these things. So it's important to really keep that visibility going and just showing up. I tell people all the time, show up. They might not need you right now. Clients might not need me right now, but they might come back. They'll stay on my email list, and sometimes they come back later on. And that's the magic of what marketing is. You can't always expect immediate results, but it builds and it builds and it builds. Hey there, I want to interrupt this episode with a quick message. If you're listening to this podcast episode and want to learn about branding your franchise or small business, then go to brandingbridge.com. That's branding-bridge.com.
For sure. Yeah. And I think I love your just, consistently show up, because you consistently show up and you're challenging yourself and, showing up and doing a little more Monday, a little more Tuesday, whatever it might be. The other thing too is I think is by being consistent and by having that online presence and having the marketing, a lot of times, working with networking groups or working with business development, a lot of people, they want to refer you or they want to help you or they want to help your business, especially because, for franchise marketing, you have that big name of ServPro, but it's still kind of a mom and pop business to a certain extent. We're still locally owned and operated. So you want people to realize that. And then you want to explain to people what the ideal customer client is for you, because then it makes it easier for people, to refer you. You and myself have spent a lot of time the last 6 months of, making sure that what we have for our blog posts or what we have on our website is correct, that it's water damage, fire damage, mold treatment, storm related damage. Our particular franchises, as we're growing, we don't really do carpet cleaning. We don't do duct cleaning.
Right.
And some pros do, and that's great. But we want to make sure people are already in a difficult enough situation. We want to make sure they're getting to the right people in a timely manner, and then we can get out there and help them quicker too. So I think, look, it sounds like a small thing, but those small things in your marketing are, helping your consumers when they need you.
Yeah. And I like that you kind of talked about the locally owned and stuff, because I know when we went through the pandemic and we were in networking virtually and stuff, people said support local. And then they were like, well, I'm not going to McDonald's or I'm not going to Applebee's or wherever they were trying to say they were going. But the director was like, hey, they're all locally owned and operated. Like they're still a small business, even though they're a big name. Like let's still support these people. So I love that we touched on that, because so many times people don't understand that franchises can be locally owned and operated. That's why storytelling is so important, because you can tell a story about the owners, about the employees, about all of that kind of stuff to really differentiate yourself from all those other serve pros that shows your unique personality. And I think that's critical and important.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think the nice thing of that is you can make yourself unique, and then you can still lean on and benefit from the other serve pros around the country that, have different ideas, so that you can hopefully help them too with ideas. But it's nice to have that support system. But yeah, to your point, it's nice to make sure people know, hey, we're a locally owned and operated franchise, and I think as a salesperson or business development, it keeps you humble. I remember working for Marriott and opening a new property, and we were fortunate to close a couple of big sales. And I had an amazing sales leader who would just keep us humble and was like, yeah, that's great. We closed that sale, but don't forget, like, you got your foot in the door because it says Marriott when you go in. It doesn't say like Bob's Motel or like Sally's Hotel. So I think it should hopefully challenge you to say, hey, this is helping me, but what can I do to help myself? And how can I think outside the box? Like you kind of touched upon earlier, Susie, of, different ideas, and asking for help when you need help it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of challenging yourself.
Yeah. And there's so many benefits instead of hiring somebody like internally and having somebody outsourcing or hiring an agency. There's so many more benefits than if you brought somebody in internally. Now you can still have somebody internally, but it's always good to have like that third party. So with that being said, what advice would you give another franchise if they were kind of struggling a little bit? What kind of advice would you give them?
I think the biggest thing with hiring outside and hiring somebody like yourself, and a vendor to help, say in this example for marketing, is that, we all want to grow our staffs and hire and our crews and our crew chiefs and our project managers and office staff. Like, we're very fortunate for our particular franchise. We have amazing people that work here and an amazing culture, and we want to grow on that. So we always want to add more people. But I think like we consider you part of, our working family too. So I think it's how you frame it. It's how you do it. But then I think you want to be proactive in life and business and everything. So I think when you're hiring outside, it's also going to benefit you later. So as we grow and develop and we need to bring on more salespeople, more, business development staff, I think it allows you to be able to train that staff more, to have more time to talk to them, to have more time to set them up for success. Because on the back end, in our example, I know, hey, Susie's got our blog posts are set for the 5 franchises for this month, so I can check that off my to-do list. I know you and I are going to talk a couple of times during the week, and I know, and it's like anything else too. It's what you make of that relationship. Like I know you'll challenge me on certain stuff, or I'll ask you questions on certain stuff. So I think it's, catchy phrases like the set it and forget it. I think you don't want to do like a set it and forget it if you hire on the outside. I think you want to develop that relationship just like you would with internal staff or colleague, where you build that relationship. But I think it's the quality of product, the quality of service that you're getting out there. And then it's education too, right? Because hopefully you're asking questions and learning from that person, about David, who owns our franchises. He always stresses that to myself, like when we're talking, like, make sure you and Avery are learning from Susie, like ask the right questions, that type of thing, because there's a ton of value in that too. I know we sometimes come in on Saturdays, and we've been talking about Google My Business so much this past year, and bust my own chops. Like I didn't have it on my phone and Avery set it up on my phone. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is going to save me so much time. I know it's a simple thing. I know like 90% of your listeners are going to be like, how did this guy not have this on his phone? But I just did it on my laptop when I was in the office. But now if the guys or the crews send me like a new photo or something, I can put it up there, and I know I can go to you and be like, hey, Susie, how does this look? So I know we're really focused on our side of the marketing franchise relationship. But I think, you can translate this to other vendors or other things, that'll help your business.
Yeah. And I mean, the whole set it, forget it thing, a lot of times when people think they're going to outsource or hire somebody, they're like, well, I need to make sure we're going to be involved. I mean, you don't have to be involved with every step, but it's like you're saying, like just being able to consult, learn, educate, and grow. I mean, that's essentially what it is. That kind of field. Like, I mean, yeah, I might do the post and not share them all with you. But when you come to me, we communicate and we talk. Like you said, we have our monthly calls. You text me, you email me. If I have ideas, we do the same, right? So it's that relationship building and you kind of also being inspired to, like you said, challenge yourself.
Yeah. And I think we just had the example last week or 2 weeks ago on our call where ServPro is rolling out all new websites. And that's great. It's exciting and we're looking forward to it. But we also talked about, some of the web stage goals are going to change. So when they do the trainership calls, I'll get the notes or the feedback from ownership or from our office manager. And one of the things was, hey, make sure you document how many posts you have, how many. I think when you have somebody that you can lean on and say, hey, Susie, I think this is changing. Let's just make sure we're out in front of it instead of it just all falling on your own shoulders. I think having the support to be like, hey, let's get out in front of this. Or, I know we talked about some of the reviews goals are changing. Will be, now we have fourth quarter to prepare for that as we head into 2022.
Yeah, we're talking a lot about the reviews on how to really implement the changes and get more reviews, essentially, not only for corporate, but for marketing and for customers. So it's like, how did we came up with some strategy ideas and, it takes time to implement and we'll get there, but at least we have ideas and goals to get there.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think, a lot of it is planning. I think a lot of it is, having somebody else that's going from like, I don't know if you say like big business to small business or, like I worked in retail when I was first out of college and it was like small box retail to big box retail or whatever. But you have in some corporate settings, you have, when I was in the hotel world, you'd have a revenue meeting once a week. You'd have a food and beverage meeting. You'd have, your events place. And that's fine. And you time block and you said that. But sometimes, as you're in a growing company or a smaller company, you don't have as much of a corporate environment. So you have to, set up structure, systems and processes. So I think when you're hiring, an outside marketing company like our calls, it's a good thing to just, we all get busy, and hopefully you're busy. That means your business is successful to a certain extent, so it's good to just have those reminders and somebody else, checking in on those things for you as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you, everybody, for listening in on today's Brand Clarity episode with Susie Liberatore. 2 things. First and foremost, please, if you liked this episode, please subscribe and leave some positive reviews. Also, don't forget to sign up for Stop Sending Your Customers to the Competition and get my insider secrets to compelling branding that converts. You can find that at branding-bridge.com. It's a free workbook for you to check out right now. All of the branding techniques and strategies that I use for my paying clients.